Now, I am thrilled to welcome Mandy Hamilton, a remarkable guide in the world of mental health and holistic healing. Mandy was once a high-performing professional athlete and has now transformed her journey into a powerful mission to help others feel at home in their mind, body, and spirit. Mandy combines modern science with ancient wisdom. She has a unique blend of expertise as a mental health coach, a shamanic guide, and a sound practitioner. And today, we are just so lucky to be inspired by Mandy as she shares tools for emotional regulation. So thank you, Mandy. Warm welcome from all of us at ShareWell.
So great to be here, Amy. Thanks for
Excited
having me.
to Yeah, we're excited. So let's start in true Cherwell fashion, by getting personal, Mandy. So I'm curious, what led you to become a mental health coach and healer?
I know the mental health world and navigating it so well from my own experience with multi-generational and complex childhood trauma. So I've lived through a lot and started going to therapy at 13 years old, and I was just determined to heal. I just knew that whatever happened was not my predicament. It was my, opportunity to heal myself and come back into a more wise and whole person. And so in that journey, I tried all kinds of modalities, and I got really fascinated by the human mind and published research in psychology on behavior change. And so I'm just really interested in why we do what we do as humans. How do we unlearn behaviors that we, learned when we were younger, especially in those formative 0 to 4, 0 to 14 age groups. And just yeah, the quest to heal myself has made me really fantastic at being able to help others. And I just really have that, like, heart feeling, like, I get you, fellow human. I really understand. And it's been actually a really incredible journey to in the quest to heal that generational trauma. And I have reached a place in my own journey that I never thought I would get to. I used to wake up depressed most days of my life and when I was younger, and that doesn't happen. I wake up happy and excited to be alive. And so for me, it's the give back. It's like, hey, I learned how to heal this stuff and be empowered. And I totally believe in the resiliency of the human spirit and that we can heal anything. So that's been my journey, and it's been so beautiful to work in mental health and help people, liberate themselves of things that have happened in the past.
Thank you, Mandy. Yeah, you are a true example of someone turning their pain into purpose.
Mm.
And let's now turn to focusing on emotional regulation. So I know that you help people find healthy ways to process emotions. So from your perspective, what impact do stuck emotions have on the body? Like, why is it so important to focus on this?
Yeah, yeah. So anyone can notice, especially as we're going to a more stressful holiday time, the election just happened. If you can notice a stressful day at work and just how your body feels when that happens, and that's acute stress. That's like an event that happens that creates stress, and you might feel tired. There's flight, fight, freeze. Response in the body. And so often when we have, the stress of work or an unexpected financial bill or, something having to do with the election, the body often will feel really heavy. You can feel it in your body. So I'm just reminding people that they already know that there are things that happen in the body when we have these event stresses. And then over time, because we live in the modern world and we're exposed to news from all over the world, and some of us have little t trauma, some of us have big T trauma, it stacks in the body. And so it's just stress and stress. And so think of it as a load, like an energetic load. And unfortunately, we don't have good tools that are taught to us as adults. Kids will scream, they'll yell, they'll run around. But as adults, we're meant to just, sit there and deal with it in our minds, but that's not really it. So, in terms of scientifically shown effects of stress and, repressed emotions in your words. On the body, illness, weakened immune system. This is all research based, what I'm sharing with you. There can be physical pain. So sometimes it's found that there's a great book called The Mind-Body Connection, and it has a lot of tools in terms of physical pain, especially in the spine and then the neck, having to do with repressed emotions and events that haven't been fully processed. Headaches, insomnia. There's another great book for people called The Body Keeps the Score, and he talks about how these things continue to live in the body till they're resolved, right? So emotional regulation is everything. How do we process things that have happened versus letting them just stick in the body, right? Yeah.
Mm.
And then the other
Yeah,
one is the mind body connection, I believe, is the other book that's really great if you have physical pain. Um, it's by a chiropractor who discovered that a lot of his clients' chiropractic pain was actually emotional in nature, and it was how he healed himself and his patients. So it's a really good one for anyone struggling with back pain. Yeah.
yeah, thanks for that, Mandy. We're all about sharing growth resources at ShareWell, so thanks for kicking that off.
Yeah.
And then in terms of a natural first step for someone, where do you suggest they begin on this, process of healing and emotional regulation?
Yeah. So one of the most interesting things, so I'm going to use stress and anxiety kind of synonymously. So when we have stress from our external environment, whether it's perceived threat or actual threat, a stressor, what happens is we go from I'll talk about the nervous system state. We go from the parasympathetic nervous system to the sympathetic nervous system. And so that upregulated nervous system is where we're in our digestion slows down. We could have digestive issues. We're like an animal on alert is the way to think about it. So we have heightened cortisol, heightened stress response, and we're on alert. And so most people are in that nervous system most of the day because there's these acute stressors that are happening, and we don't learn how to create the baseline of the parasympathetic. We're in the rest and digest where we have, much easier cognition, we have better digestion, we just there's less cortisol in our system. So once you get into the stress response nervous system, the sympathetic, the most important thing to do is realize that it's a body experience. Like you're literally having cortisol and all these things, and the prefrontal cortex, which is the brain we most identify with as being the rational human mind, starts to go offline because we're really in survival. So we have a limbic brain and we have a animal brain, a reptilian brain. These are our three brains. And so this brain goes offline and we're not in our rational self anymore. And so as much as we think we could just think ourselves out of it, it's not actually what works. And so I'm telling you all the science and kind of what's going on behind the scenes for you to understand that once the body gets involved and you're in that heightened alert physiology, you use the body to bring yourself back into that rest and digest, that I'm okay nervous system. It's the most amazing thing because you don't have to think your way. No, just think positive thoughts. I'm okay. I'm okay. You actually don't need to do that. It also isn't very effective once you're in this stressed place. So the number one tool that I teach clients, because it's just so easy, is a breathing technique. So again, we use the body to bring ourselves back into a state of relaxation, a state of homeostasis that's good for our health. This nervous system state is not. So it's an inhale through the nose. That's what calms us for 4, a count of 4. We could do it all together now. So an inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, holding at the top. And then it's an exhale for 8. So a long exhale. And I like to teach it as if you're blowing out of a straw. So for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Some people won't have any breath left. 7, 8. So it could be a 4 and a 6 or a 4 and an 8, but you get the picture. It is, I promise you that if you do that for 2 minutes straight, you will calm down. And so that's just the most amazing hack I could imagine sharing with the group, in that you don't have to think your way out of it. You don't have to effort your way out of it. It's really just closing your eyes, finding a quiet moment, and using this breathing technique, a long an inhale through the nose and a longer exhale. And you just do that until you feel better. And it works. It really does. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I
So,
love that as a tool for when you're emotionally heightened. Are there any tools that you would recommend, or maybe even daily practices, for someone to kind of build up their resilience and on a daily basis, so that when they do face those triggers, they can more easily handle them?
totally. So, I will, use something that people sound or all know that everyone says, "Oh, I should meditate, I should meditate." But I'm going to really drill in the why and what it does to. So again, my background's in psychology. I've published research in it, and there's a concept in psychology called entrainment. And so what that is our conditioning. So we walk through everyday life and we train ourselves to feel and act and think in particular ways. Most of our modern entrainment is not intentional. It's chaotic. We have, this notification, this thing, where this text message. Like most of us, if you were to map our cognition on a graph, would be like, pretty crazy. And so that entrainment also is mind and nervous system. And so the reason why even a 5-minute meditation practice is so powerful and helpful is because we're entraining a homeostasis that our system really likes. So there's prolific research. I love research because there's prolific research on meditation's good for you, right? But here's why. Because you train a baseline in your system of I'm of peace, of that sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system. Like you just teach yourself to observe your breath, observe a mantra, observe your sensations, and you train yourself that baseline, that home base of being at peace. And so then when you're not in it, you every single day you have that touch point. And so the research is 5, 10, 20 minutes of meditation a day dramatically impacts your mental and emotional health. And the reason is we really like that baseline. And so when it's entrained every single day, it creates a home base that we can come back to because it feels way better than being in this, right? And so as rudimentary as it may sound, it is wonderful. And another resource for the group is there's a 30-day meditation like intro course on an app called Waking Up. And I'm sure ShareWell probably has amazing resources on meditation, but the Waking Up app gives people like truly the rudimentary starting place of how to meditate and how to observe. Because if we can be the observer of what's going on, then we have the ability to choose how we respond to what's going on. Many of us are just in the muck of it, and we don't get to like sit back and be like, "Oh, I'm noticing that my boss is stressed out and talking to me in a way that I don't really like, or my partner is stressed out and acting in a way that I don't really prefer." If we can observe that it's happening, then we don't have to get as caught up in it, and we can protect ourselves before we ever get into. I'm just going to keep using this because we're on Zoom and it's kind of fun to share like the different states that we get into. And so once we get triggered, it's a lot harder to bring things down. It's not impossible at all, but it's just like, why wouldn't we try to keep the cool, calm waters instead of getting upregulated and stressed out?
Yeah, beautifully said, Mandy, and thank you for drilling that down. I'm also someone, sure many of our audiences, someone who really desires to meditate more, but then slips. And so this reminder is very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and
I'm curious, yeah, are there any parts of your daily routine that you think would inspire our audience?
totally. I think that for me, I claim my morning. So, and I know you're a morning person too. For me, I'll just set my alarm, like depending on when work starts or things happen. I just always try to create some time for myself in the morning. We give so much time to our jobs and our loved ones that for me, the morning is really a time to train and cultivate that state. And so I just love slowness. So I play lovely music. I light a candle. I think increasing research around how important it is to get outside and get light, even if it's, I'm looking at a storm right now through my window, even if it's a little cold and dark, you can still bundle up. And it's important to get that for your circadian rhythm. So that natural light, so that your body knows to cycle melatonin and other chemicals that create either sleeping or waking. So having just a little walk outside, a little moment, a seat outside can be tremendous. One of my favorite routines is alternative nostril breathing. And so this unites the right and left hemispheres of the brain. And so, we can send a YouTube around or something, but if you just Google it, it's about inhaling through one nostril, holding, and then exhaling, and then inhaling. So you're creating this curvature, and it creates so much calmness in just a few minutes. There are mornings that are busy for me, but I still find, at least 30 minutes to stretch, to breathe. I always do breathing in the morning. I always try to get outside. And then there's one tool that, is not necessarily part of my morning routine, but I really want to share with the group, especially in moments like the holidays where things are stressful. The vagus nerve is the largest nerve in our parasympathetic nervous system. So that's the one where that's the nervous system that we really like. And so what we want is to stimulate the vagus nerve. And one of the ways to do that is actually through singing. So if you like singing in the shower, singing in the car, humming, you can just if you're not a singer. And then another way to really move stress out of the body, like if I'm having a hard moment and I have the capacity, I'm at home, yelling or making noise into a pillow is so helpful. Like it is a secret tool in life. So you can just put your mouth in the pillow and make any noise you want. It doesn't even need to be a yell, but just like, like letting it out through the body is just like the breathing technique that I shared. So whether that's humming, singing, or a vocal release through the pillow, it will just trust me, try it once, and it will be so, so helpful for this more stressful holiday season for a lot of people, or anytime that you feel like you don't have control over something. It's so nice to be able to use the body to relax and let go of the emotion.
I love that. We're all going to go scream into pillows after this.
Totally, totally. And it doesn't need to be a scream. It can just be like noise making. Again, we have a lot to learn from children. Children jump around, they run around, they yell, that's their way of processing, and they're way closer to our natural state than we are as adults. They're more animals than we are. And so, other animals will shake, and that's another technique that you can do is just, I'm just going to shake this off. And what I encourage everyone to do is just let go of judgment with this stuff. Like there's nothing weird about this. This is actually way more normal in the animal kingdom than we let on. But as adults, we're taught to be like, we have to have everything figured out. We need to be sitting down and just deal with everything. But it actually does us a disservice.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mandy. And now let's move into the topic of forgiveness. I know that you have, some tools and practices to help people move forward on their forgiveness journey. And I'm curious also why you believe the practice of forgiveness is so powerful in terms of emotional regulation.
Yeah, yeah. And so there's a saying in the forgiveness work that it's not about making what another person did, and I want to say there's self-forgiveness too. So, but it's not about making what another person did right. That's definitely not what forgiveness is. It's just letting go of the emotions, because it's like poisoning yourself when you're holding that level of resentment and anger and frustration with someone, because they can't feel it and it only hurts you. It's a lot of intense emotion in your body, and it doesn't change the situation with them, to feel that. And so I actually grew up in Hawaii, and in Hawaii, as we say, Hawaii. And it is, there's a Hawaiian forgiveness ritual there where you envision getting the apology from that person that you never got, or they actually give it to you. And so it's simple. It's more, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and getting that back and forth until the energy is cleaned between the two of you. the best technique that everyone could relate to is writing letters that you never send. So both writing a letter to the person, maybe of things that you wish you could say, and then the ultimate is writing the letter that you wish you got from them. What's the apology that maybe you didn't get from them and maybe never will because of whatever reason, and writing that from them, knowing that in a spiritual perspective, they have a soul and you have a soul. And from the higher perspective, they are sorry. They are sorry. And it's just so healing to get the apology that maybe you never got. It just allows you to let go of the anger and the frustration. So Ho'oponopono is the Hawaiian forgiveness ritual. Everyone can Google that. It's a really cool process. And the idea is that you keep doing this, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, until you feel it, until the energy lightens and releases. But the letter writing is the most tangible thing that I think everybody could relate to. I had to do that this year recently with somebody, and it was so wonderful to read that. Even though I wrote it for myself, I just loved being like, yeah, this is what it should have looked like. And it didn't, but it does now.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. At ShareWell, we're really big on journaling and writing letters. We actually have some support groups that you do that in practice together. And so I'll actually post a link in the chat for anyone who would like to join our support groups there. And then before we switch over to Q&A, Mandy, I'd love to get your perspective on limiting beliefs. So, as a coach, what are the common limiting beliefs that you see in your clients, and how do you help them to overcome them?
Yeah, yeah. So this is my training in a technique called neuro-linguistic programming. It was the first thing that really changed my life. I was 26 at the time when I experienced it. And what it is just think of it as a tool that really understands our neural pathways, our beliefs. So these are the programs that operate in the background. Our conscious mind is what we're consciously thinking, and the unconscious is all of the conditioning, belief systems, and some of them are positive and some of them are limiting. And what limiting is like it doesn't really help us, it kind of limits our life. And so the most common one that maybe a lot of us can relate to is one that is, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not capable enough. This is just pervasive in our Western society. I definitely had this one. Maybe there's still little glimmers, but it's pretty resolved. And for whatever reason, it's a common thing that we are taught because we have high standards in our society and we reward outcomes. And what happens when we have a limiting belief like I'm not smart enough, then we create a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so what we want to do is start to build counter evidence. So it's how could I look at the reframing as a technique in NLP? So there's an event and you could reframe it. How does it look different? Like I might think that person's thinking I'm not smart, but what's another way I could look at it or interpret it that isn't that? And then it's building counter evidence. Here's all the examples of how I am smart enough and how I have done amazing things. And so it's at least creating balance within your psyche around things like a limiting belief or like I'll never heal from my trauma, right? I get it. I've had a lot. It's a limiting belief because it's not true. You absolutely can. So a replacement belief on that one would be something like I'm healing day by day. Little by little, I'm moving towards the life that I want or the mental health that I want, or I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to get there. That was a big one for me. I was like, I'm going this way. I don't know how, but I'm going to do everything I can to go this way. And it was really helpful to let go of how. And so it's really about, to summarize, the counter belief or beliefs, it could be several, and then the counter evidence, because we all have evidence of, if it's not in our own life, we have it in other people's lives, right? There are people who have went through the Holocaust and they were able to rebuild their lives. Like what an incredible demonstration of the human resiliency, right? Within our own spirits. And what a horrible thing that occurred. And those people still claimed their lives and lived another life after that. So we really can heal, and we really can change our beliefs about ourselves or the world in a way that is positive for our future.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. And I love the formation of that kind of North Star mantra. If you don't have a North Star mantra, audience, like highly recommend creating one for yourself and then tapping into that daily. Very powerful, Mandy. Thank you. Mandy, I just want to say thank you so much. You are just such a wealth of wisdom and resources and really, really powerful guidance here. And so thank you so much for that. I hope you will all take some of this wisdom and implement it into your daily routines. And also, we hope to see you in a ShareWell support group soon, and also our next session. So we have another amazing thought leader coming up in 10 minutes. So please join us if you are